Hey guys, I commented on a post last week or so about someone's use of the flow control on the new Profitec machines. And they said that they hadn't really been able to get into it that much and were kind of curious about what my setup was. And so I wanted to make this quick video. I apologize, I have to use the front of my camera because the back of my camera is broken. But let me just give you a quick overview of how I use flow control on the ProfitecPro. I have the 600, which basically means it's a vibration pump, I think, instead of rotary pump, and it's not plumbable. But so far, I've had it for about 3 weeks, and I love it. I chose this machine because I wanted the flow control specifically, and so my other option was this or the Lila Bianca within my price range, and I like the looks of this one more, even though I like the original paddle on the Lila Bianca. I wanted flow control because I used to work as a barista in Chicago and we used Slayers, and I absolutely loved it. And that's where I kind of grew up on espresso on a Slayer, and so I wanted to be able to mimic that as much as possible. And so that's why I chose this ProfitecPro 600, and I have absolutely loved it so far. So just let me show you a little bit what this looks like. And so we have a pressure gauge right here telling us what bar the espresso is pulling at. And then we have this little knob. And so the knob all the way back here now is closed, no water. So if I were to turn it on, no water is going to come out because the knob's closed. But as I open it up, you can see that water begins to flow. And then as I keep on turning, more water until all the way up into full pressure. Okay, obviously it says that there's no pressure right now because there's nothing that this espresso is running against. And so some of you guys were commenting on like what kind of flow rate, and then even in the Whole Lot of Love video, they did like the test where they put a scale underneath and they were measuring how much water was coming through. To be honest, I don't really know any kind of rate or like formula what we're doing. I really work based off of feel. That's what we did in our shop, and so I try and mimic the same recipe that we had in our shop, which was we aimed for about 20-second pre-infusion, and then we wanted to end our shot around 50 seconds or so. And so what that means is I open up this barely at all. I open this up just a teeny tiny little bit, and then I kind of watch down here. Actually, I almost never watch up here. I'm almost always watching underneath the group head, and I'm watching it drip, and I'm kind of waiting till I see the first drip, and I want my first drips to kind of be around 20 seconds, and then I begin to crank open my the pressure. I crank it up. I think it gets up to about 8 or 9 bar. But I'm not watching the pressure gauge. I'm watching the espresso. I'm watching to see how it's pulling. I'm looking for a nice controlled extraction. And then as soon as I begin to see a little wiggle, that's kind of when I'm tailing back a little bit. And then depending on where I'm at in my time, I might keep it going for a little bit, or I might end it and cut it right then and there. But it's interesting. I'm not really watching the pressure. I'm really kind of reading the espresso. And so I already got my puck ready. And so just to kind of show you guys what this looks like, kind of aiming for the same, 18 grams in, about 35 grams out. I don't keep a scale under there. I kind of just go by how it feels. So I made this little precarious stand. Let's see if I can get this guy set up. I'm really sorry I don't have a better video, but I hope this is helpful for at least a little bit. There we go. Can you guys see? All right, so you're not gonna be able to see the timer, unfortunately, but that is also something I watch a little bit more than here. I watch the flow. See, I'm actually down here. You can't see this, but I'm down here on the knee, so I can see underneath. So I'm gonna start with it all the way closed, turn it on, and I'm opening it up. I turned it about 1/8 of a turn. Okay. All right. So now we're at almost 10 seconds. Still no extraction. Or no drippage at least. 15 seconds. Okay, I'm starting to see a little bit. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit more. 20 seconds, 23. All right, now there's a quarter turn. All right, now I'm gonna add a half turn, and it's really pulling really well right there. So I'm gonna leave it and then cut. And so that was at 30. That was a 30-second extraction. So that was like super short. And we weighed in at 41 grams, okay? And It smells good. These beans that I'm using right now aren't really that great. Saw one of your guys' comments, and I asked how you're dialing in, and he said, "Oh, more beans, more beans, more beans." And yeah, just keep doing that. It took me about 10 to 15 tries to figure out my pressure. And so I just got some cheap breakfast blend beans from a local grocery store at like $7 a pound, compared to, like the good stuff from a local coffee shop. I buy beans out of a shop called Intelligentsia typically, and these run about $22 a pound. So I'm sorry I didn't show you guys the espresso, but it weighed in at like 40 grams. And so my end weight was, I was trying to get about 35 grams, but I wasn't paying attention because I was videoing more so than watching the espresso. And then it stopped at 36 seconds, which is really short for me. And so I think I had a pretty weak tamp, to be honest, earlier, and so that probably caused it. But typically, I want my first drips to be around about 20 seconds, 21 seconds, 20 to 25 seconds. That's really good for me. And then I want my shot to finish pulling between 40 to 50 seconds. So I barely open it up at all, and that's my pre-infusion for those first 20 seconds. And then once I see the first drip, trying to hit about 20 seconds, that's when I crank it up, and I crank it all the way about to a quarter turn. And then if it's pulling well, I'll keep on going up to a half turn, and then about 3/4 of a turn, which is almost all the way open. But if I go that far open, typically my shots will finish a little bit quicker than about that 50-second range. So yeah, I hope this is helpful just a little bit. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if there was anything that I didn't explain well. I love this machine a lot. It's been really helpful. Oh, grind size. Yeah, so I grind with a Commandante. Actually, I don't have an automatic grinder because typically I'm just pulling shots for myself, and I love to do manual pour overs, and so I really didn't have a problem. I already had that grinder, and so I probably will end up getting a new grinder eventually, but like right now, that one's pulling amazing. I think typically for espresso, on the videos I was watching, like from Chris Keeler or something like that, he was grinding in like 11 or 12 notches on his grinder, and I'm grinding at 8, sometimes 7, but really about 8. And so with that being said, if you're doing a pre-infusion, I think you can grind a lot finer, and I think that also is why pre-infusion and then using this manual flow control allows you to bring out a lot of good sweetness and a lot of like really juicy, sometimes really caramely and chocolatey notes that I don't typically find when I order the same espresso at a coffee shop downtown in Chicago, or if I even use my own local roasters beans here in the city that I live in. I typically find that I am making the espresso better than a lot of times a coffee shop, because I think it's the flow control, and I'm able to let that pre-infusion versus like your typical 30-second shot. Thanks. I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions. Would love to comment below. All right, bye.